Hi, AAUP members and others who might be watching. Welcome to PSU Budget 101. My goal here today is to familiarize you all with certain aspects of the budget in advance of the presentation scheduled for Monday, February 22nd. Likely we will produce more of these videos as well going forward. I'm Aaron Roussel, and I'm an AAUP Executive Counselor. I'm not a finance person, but I do have a strong interest in understanding the budget, as we all should. So I have borrowed visuals and consulted with accounting experts through AAUP. I want to share with you what I have learned. AAUP over the past few years has been diligently working to help members and other workers understand the PSU budget and why the narrative spun by the university to justify significant austerity measures, up to and including staff and faculty cuts and departmental cuts, is misleading and manipulative. First, I want us to understand the difference between budgets and actual revenues and expenses. Budgets are plans for how anticipated money will be spent. They are based on forecasts. After the budget is made and executed, financial reports detailing actual expenses and actual revenues tell us how well those forecasts predicted the future. That is, the way that expenses and revenues actually worked out. PSU's budgeting has historically been based on dire projections. That is why we have made so much noise in the past about budget surpluses of as much as $25 million. The year prior to that $25 million surplus, administration told us that the sky was falling and everything had to be cut. When the money was counted at the end of the day, there were $25 million more than the budget had planned for. What happened to that money? Where did it go? We are not told. More importantly, what university functions and personnel got cut due to those overinflated projections? Moreover, the dire projections are based on financial models and underlying assumptions, which despite frequent requests, administration refuses to share. This year is no different. We simply have no idea how they are making these determinations, which prove to be inaccurate year after year. Actual data suggests that PSU is well positioned financially. We have many different choices in how to proceed. Meanwhile, administration has done its level best to convince us that retrenchment, or what you'll hear regarding Article 22 of the contract, is absolutely necessary to meet these challenges. When the rubber hits the road, administration wants a free hand to eliminate programs and lay off faculty and staff. We'll show you why that is a problem and far from the only solution. I direct your attention to the graph here, which is drawn from official PSU financial reports. On the left, in blue, we have what are considered liquid assets, cash and cash equivalents, for example. Buildings have great value, but are not easily converted into spendable monies to cover costs. These numbers represent the growth in easily spendable liquid assets between 2016 and 2020. Yet I distinctly remember administration telling us in 2016 that the budget situation was dire and that cuts were needed. When you think of the notion of the university having and owning debt, alongside the notion of the university having assets that come in that we can spend, that represents our total net position there in the middle. Over the previous 4 years, we have grown our cash and cash equivalents by more than $97 million. How well we're positioned financially in terms of our assets versus our debts is located there in the total net position column, right there. Our total net position, that is, our net worth, is nearly $440 million in the black and has increased $133 million since 2016. Another important thing to consider is reserves. Now, some of these reserves are restricted. When I have a promised startup package as new faculty that I haven't fully spent yet, those are reserves that haven't been spent, but rather are earmarked. But many of these reserves are not so earmarked. Our total reserves are more than $105 million and have increased nearly $50 million since 2016. Finally, check out the far right in the pink, where we have the increases in things that cost us money, academic support costs and the cost of instruction. This is where salaries are located. I want you to know how small these bars are compared to the other bars. We've made a lot of money and not turned much of it to increasing these costs over the past 4 years. When we think about these things as pure dollars, I know it makes my head spin, and some things can get lost in terms of what all this means, relatively speaking. So here's the same set of financial categories depicted as percent change, rather than in pure dollars. Our cash and cash equivalents have increased 214% over what they were 4 years ago. Our total net position, that is our net worth as a university, has grown 43% over what it was in 2016. And again, when you look at the increases in instructional costs and academic support costs, these increases have remained paltry even here, rising only 2.1 and 4.6% respectively. What does all this mean? Let's recall that for the 3.3% cost of living adjustments that we negotiated for with administration in the last contract, which was signed in 2015, those cost of living adjustments that they fought tooth and nail for because they said we had no money, the paltry figures for instruction and academic support costs include those COLAs and would be even smaller without them, yet they pale beside the figures to their left. PSU is in good financial shape. The pandemic is not forever. And to pretend that we live in a university where we can only cut and never plan for better days means that the university will eventually be cut to the ground. If we don't protect faculty, if we don't protect staff positions, we are left in a state where we have a university without employees. Rebuilding programs is costly. It is difficult. And of course, the people who got laid off are deprived of income and have no promise of rehire when the university finds better days. We are currently looking at approximately $30 million in federal CARES funding and several more million coming down the pike from Oregon. Administration will be quick to tell you that we cannot use these monies for things like salary. That is true. However, the $8 million from the CARES Act dedicated to students, much of that will come back to us in the form of tuition, which then becomes dollars that we can spend however we like. Money from CARES and Oregon that is specifically earmarked for specific things can be used to offset other costs that free up money for other things as well. For example, if someone offers to pay my rent, I may not be able to use that money for groceries, but I can use the money that I intended for rent to go to Winco. Money that remains in the general fund, thanks to CARES in Oregon, is fungible and can be used for all kinds of things. We have significant reserves. We can use these to cover short-term deficits. We can use these to prevent layoffs. We can use these to prevent departmental elimination, something that administration is prepared and preparing to do. In previous presentations to Faculty Senate, the campus-wide presentation scheduled for Monday the 22nd, and the vaguely threatening emails emanating from the provost's office about program cuts, the university continues to scare employees by continuing their disaster and scarcity narrative around the budget. No one thinks the economy is ideal right now, but AAUP does not agree with the university's disingenuous narrative. We look forward to working with members and other workers to prioritize the well-being of the people working within the university. In the words of a member of the Board of Trustees, we cannot cut our way out of this problem, and we at AAUP agree. Thank you.